on here. Okay, back again with another live stream tonight, third in a row. Okay, so now you might notice a difference. If you've used to my cameras, this is the new one. I had to put it way off to the side even more. I've got this one off to the side, and now this one's even further. Actually, that's there's only two places I could put it, either where the other one is or where it is now, because that's as far as that little USB cable will reach. I've got longer cables that came with my phones, but I've got two 10-foots that I bought, but they're a different connector. The ones all the phones, they're the most common you use nowadays is a micro USB on one end and the regular, I think, C USB on the other end. Something was odd about that mic. Sorry. This one has I think it's called mini USB. It just hit me. The older one that came out before micro, it's small, about the same size. They're close enough. Well, now that I can't see so well, I had to get them. Well, I got them under my endoscope camera because I already had it running and looked at them in the other video and figured it out. But because I was going to try to use that longer cable so I could move the camera around a little bit, And in the previous video, I looked through the manual and stuff and figured out how to get this thing into. It's really, really funky the way you get it into. You can't do it on the remote. You can't do it on the screen, even though there's an OK there that doesn't, like you think you could touch it. It doesn't do it. The only way you can do it is, when you turn on the camera with the USB plugged in, that little window, it'll switch from preview of the video to a little blue screen. At least it's not a Windows blue screen, but it says it defaults to the data transfer, some letters, I forgot what they are, and then you can either use the touch screen or you can use the remote. I think you can use the buttons on the side of the camera, get it to the like when you want camera, pick the one you want, whichever one it is, and then you hit the take a photo button on the top back of the camera. When I saw it in the manual, I kept trying to hit the photo. There's a green photo button here on the remote. That didn't work, and then it hit me. I finally remembered because I knew I had done it before. And I mean, it doesn't explain. It doesn't say hit the photo button on top of the camera or anything. It just says touch the photo button. So you're thinking, well, the remote works to page up through it if you use the zoom buttons. Don't try to use the arrows. Use the zooms. You can't get the light right there. There you go. The zooms, the ones that look like magnifying glasses, not the up and down, left or right. And it works. So it looks washed out to me. I think it should still be set where I left it on vibrant colors or whatever they call it. And when I was using it earlier, it seemed to me to look better than the first time I used it. And I just had left it on the defaults. The default just says normal for the colors. And I have it set to 4K, but it's not recording in 4K. I'll show a little video I made with a GUVC view here in a minute, and I'll show you. But so there's the view of just me on this camera. It's definitely bigger. It's full. It's fitting my. It's bigger than 1080p. It's fitting my full, but it's not that full 4K 25 something resolution either. I'll look at it in a minute. Now here it is with what I've been using. The camera froze up. Well, isn't that pretty? There's the size. Why did it freeze up? All night I spent twice as much time fixing everything that's messing up than I've spent making videos. Every time I had to reboot the machine. Well, let's get off of this. I don't know why it's froze up, though. That's weird. I was just fixing to show you. Okay, there it is. I set it up to where I could do this. Oh, now it's just lagging real bad. sometimes that does, when they act up like that, they'll usually when they freeze up, you got to restart the camera or disconnect. Tonight I've been having to turn off the Wi-Fi and turn it back on the cameras on the phones, and I really don't remember ever doing that. So I'm behind. I can tell that on the camera. This one here, the phone. Those are my cameras for 3 or 4 years now. But anyways, look at the difference in the color, and I don't like, everything's too white, too bright. The wall's too white. My face is too white. But the other one's the opposite. It's too red. And it changes. Like if it was daylight, it would probably look more normal and natural. But it's night and dark. It's 11:25 p.m. now. I've been doing this all evening. But been wanting to do it for weeks, and finally got around to feeling up to doing it, and so I want to do it. So and it is definitely higher resolution. Let's see if I go back to it, if it'll work. Nope. Now why is it frozen on that view but not on the dual view? That makes no sense whatsoever. I don't remember ever seeing that. But the one on the left, that's my phone camera streaming over Wi-Fi, and the one on the right is my new camera. I keep forgetting how to say the name of it, but it's the one labeled 4K. But this, and oddly enough, let's go to the desktop for a minute. I won't be able to click on them, but I can point to them with the mouse. Okay, see the USB 4K cam? That's the one that's the full view on the new camera. And then this one, I can click on that Canova endoscope. These are my previous settings I had for the Canova endoscope. And Cam 1. But since I don't have I unplugged the endoscope and rebooted the computer because all the no USB cameras were going to work at all, because I tried to change settings while recording, while streaming and recording, and that didn't work. I knew that probably wouldn't work, but I guess it really does not ever work. I was thinking it did sometimes. Let me check my audio up there. Okay, so in OBS, if you're going to add a USB or take away one or anything, you really need to shut down OBS and do your thing. Don't do it while you're recording. And then if you want to save settings, if you change anything, you want to save settings. Yeah, there's no save settings. You just close OBS and open it back up, and it'll save it for you. Because if you don't and it crashes, then you'll lose everything you did. I've done that before. So anyway, and the Cam 1 stream, that's the one that is my full size, but it's frozen. Never seen it do that. And I've seen it do that, but I've never seen it do it on one view but then work on another. Let's see if it's working in the desktop view. No, it's frozen in there. So I don't understand why I'm waving. Look at there. It's almost the same. It's not even hardly behind. I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's behind. The USB camera is probably more real time, but that's the way it usually is with the Wi-Fi cameras. But it's not it doesn't seem to be any more behind than normal. But it's working, and the other ones are not. Other scenes are not working. I do not understand that. Okay, I'm going to get back on the desktop. I'm chewing on a cough drop because I finally talked long enough for I was starting to cough a lot and my voice was getting raw. But I'm gonna do like I did before. I believe I'm just gonna mute my I'm gonna mute my mic so they won't interfere, and I'll let you see and hear what the video I recorded in GUVC view. There's the name of what I'm saying. It's another USB camera app. I recorded on it, and you'll see what it looks like and listen for the audio. It does that. That's bad. Now I was recording using the mic on the camera, not my SM58, or anything. No external mic built into the camera, and I'm around here in front of it instead of behind it. So I'm wondering if that mic is back there somewhere. What it sounds like is that it's probably automatic level control. Maybe it has a little bit of software compression in it, but it sounds like it's chopping off the. I'm not loud enough to keep it open, and it's chopping everything off, and it's making it sound really bad. So here we go. Okay, check 1, 2. Oh, now we got audio. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I wasn't getting audio because I selected the audio device that I knew from the USB in OBS Studio that was this camera, but that didn't work. But if I just leave it on the default calls audio, I can see a signal in the preview now. So this is the new Komery camera, supposed quasi 4K camera. It's a 13 megapixel image sensor, Sony image sensor in it. And supposedly the software can bring it up to 48K, or the bit banging, or whatever it is that they use. Don't believe it's even getting anywhere close to that. It doesn't even, well, I haven't had a 13 megapixel camera, so I can't say what it would really look like. It's not very sharp, sort of like these vibrating artifacts on the. And I am on 4K though. I could change the settings to. It won't show up in OBS. You know what? Maybe the last time when it worked in OBS, I didn't have it on 4K. I thought it did, but I think I'll put it down lower because. Well, we'll see. I'm going to open up for OBS one more time, but the resolution it's presenting to GUVC view is 1280 by 720. That's not anywhere near the 4K though, so I think that's the max can be put through the USB, or the max that this thing will put out, period, on the USB. Let's put it that way. Not what can be put through the USB, but that it will put out. And it is using YU12, so that's the only one showing up in OBS anyway. So yeah, YU12, 30 frames per second. It's named Demo 1. So let's stop the video and see what happened with that. Okay, so there's how it did on its own mic. And I think from looking at the preview in my OBS Studio, I think in that app it looks better in here, I think. But it may just be because it was such a bigger maybe because it was so much bigger. This is the preview in OBS Studio is maybe not even quite a third of the screen, and I can't get any bigger than that. Then I can't see the controls at the bottom. I could make it bigger, but I couldn't operate the program. So with that, I could really see all the flaws in the video and on me. So. Sorry about that. I had a coughing fit so bad I just thought I better get off the screen and mute the audio. Still can't hardly talk. I suddenly had a influx of sinus drainage, and my throat's already kind of scratchy and raw from talking all in the evening, all afternoon and evening. When did I start? About 4 o'clock, and it's midnight, after midnight now, isn't it? What time is it? Oh, it's 11:35. So, I was thinking about plugging in my old sauce lapel mic into it, but seeing what it sounded like, I thought, well, maybe it would sound a little better, or either one of the lapel boxes would sound a little better. It might stop that cutting out, but I think that's what it is. I think it has an automatic level control, maybe some compression even. I don't know, but there's no way to set it that I can see. Nothing. No. Well, there's a lot of settings that the manual says it has that I haven't found. I'm gonna have to look really hard, but I'm tired. I'm gonna quit and go to bed now. But I was thinking of plugging it in there right now and doing it. Then I started having a coughing fit, and I realized, well, I can't even talk anymore. And my other camera has gone. It's evidently something going wonky in OBS, I guess, because works. See if it still works with the dual view. It's still working. It seems like it might be quite a bit more behind than it was a while ago. That kind of happens sometimes with dual views and stuff, or when the camera started acting up. I rebooted it's frozen up. I just can't believe that it would work in one view. In 2 other views it doesn't work at all. It's frozen. I've just never really seen it do that. I did reboot the router a while ago to try to make everything better, but then a lot of times you have to restart the cameras. Earlier this evening I had to restarting the cameras didn't help. I actually had to turn off the Wi-Fi in the camera and turn it back on. But I did a test video and it was working. So I always do audio video tests before I start a stream, and everything was working. So it quit after that. A while ago, my previous video, my Cam3 audio quit working. I think it's Cam3 audio quit working. I think it's I fixed it. Okay, finally. Stop coughing and everything. All right, so I'm going to have to quit here real quick, real soon. But let's see. I was trying to kind of sum up what I figure, about what I think about it, about this camera. It's okay, but it's not what I hope for. I mean, it is a higher resolution, by by far than my. Earlier, I was thinking, man, this doesn't even look any better in resolution than my. Well, I have to watch back this video to see what it actually looks like. But in the preview, it looks to me like it's better than my phone cameras. I mean, they're 2 megapixels and it's 13 megapixel sensor. CMOS sensor in it, and the camera, the camera sensor. But it's not all about megapixels either. The coloring and all that. Hate it whenever I just trying to finish something up and I start coughing like that. But see, now they're more back. That one on the left is back to being more in time. That happens over the Wi-Fi. That's because of streaming the video over the Wi-Fi. I was thinking that I would try to fix it, just to see if I can figure out what would fix it. I mean, I won't know what's wrong, but I was thinking about rebooting the app and all that stuff. But if I'm going to be able to talk, if I can't talk at all, then I can't. No point in trying anything else. Well, I think I just won't do that. It could end up being a big problem anyway and take forever, and I'm tired. I can hardly get any words out without coughing. Okay, man. I just now did, while I was trying to recover from another coughing spell, I remembered that I did want to check and see if the Wi-Fi, if this thing can be seen in my Wi-Fi router, if it showed up as a device. Tried to do that. I'll just stop talking and look at that for a second. Yeah, so it's not in, there's nothing new in there. Well, it had just could have been an IPv6 address, but I think what it's doing is it's sending out its own. I think it's sending out its own IP address. Anyway, now that I think about it, I think that's how it's looking. You know, it's looking to connect to an app on a phone, and I think it's sending out a. I saw it earlier. I switched on the Wi-Fi thing on and off. Watched it, and it. Anyway, none of these are it for sure. So, and besides that, it's running on USB now, so it may turn everything else off. I need to do it. You know, get it turned on to where it's trying to connect, and then see if the router sees it. Be my only way of really knowing. I can't even talk. I'm gonna just have to go. That itch right down in my throat, right in there. If I press on it, it actually helps a little bit. It's so intense that I can't stop. I'm just coughing my head off. And the heater's been on for the last 5 or 10 minutes, and I think that's what set it off now that I realize it, because I was starting to get overheated. It went up from, I think it went up from 75 to 77 in here, something like that, or 76 to 77. I can't hardly stand any. 76 is about the most I can stand. Well, I don't know. It's just that, you know, the heater. I think it blows dust, but it draws out the air so much too. Last time I couldn't. I tried to hit the Control 4, but I hit something else. Brought some menu up on the screen, and I couldn't do anything else. Okay, so yes, I'm gonna have to quit. I'm tired. I want to go to bed anyway. I've done pretty well until just now, the last 10 minutes. So, time to quit. I kind of want to maybe try a lower resolution over the USB and see if it actually, and look at the color settings, see if it actually will. I'm worried about, it's trying to do, I can't remember what it was, and I can't open up that app. That'll fight with this, with OBS. It was, I can't remember, but it wasn't the full resolution they show that it can do. It wasn't even close. But it was much more than, I'm streaming 720p over my phone camera, so it was much more than that. And I believe it was higher than, let's see, the resolution that I'm set OBS to is 1920 by 1080. It might have been a little under that. I think it's a little over it, but I think it might have been a little under that. But then also I want to see if it's possible to stream it over Wi-Fi. It said, obviously, I can tell it doesn't work really well because they were making excuses in the manual saying your phone's memory probably couldn't handle it. That's why it's having trouble. Which could be true, but generally the problem I see with streaming is the Wi-Fi chips. or the Bluetooth if you're using Bluetooth, but I wouldn't do that. There wouldn't be enough data, enough bandwidth for video. Barely do audio, but I mean, you can. I've played with it, going to the TV and stuff, but I wouldn't use it. I would use Wi-Fi, especially if, you know, assuming you have a, you know, gigabit router with, you know, a gigabit or more, like my routers. One of them will do, well, the D-Link, the one that's going through, will do about 1,200 on the Wi-Fi, even more than the gigabit. So I guess, you know, it claims like the peak is 1,500 or 1,400 or something, but realistically, I think it's about 1,200. So anyway, I need to quit rambling on. Okay, so I'm going to go before I have another fit, another coughing fit. But at least I got it working, and definitely doesn't match the other phones. Like, using them together is not going to look very good. One nice thing about using those 3 identical phones is that my camera, no matter which phone I was using, the shot looked, you know, they seamlessly looked the same. Good, bad, or indifferent, they look the same. You know, same phones, same cameras in them, and everything. So, but I do want to, you know, upgrade from 2 megapixel, and a camera, you know, with that you can hold like that and zoom in and out easily and all that is pretty handy too. You know, it's really hard to shoot good video with a phone. Although this thing is so light, it's kind of hard to smoothly move it around. I might get used to it, but I did learn that I put a stick on I mounted one of my cameras on a stick, and I can hold it, you know, a selfie stick. But I don't use it for a selfie hardly. I use it to, it helps me aim it better. And I don't drop it as easily with it that way. But let's pan around one time just to see. I'll show that. Here, let me just switch. No, don't switch to that other mic. I can't get away from it at all if I start coughing. Here it is. We're coming up, fixing to come up. That's my tripod with the endoscope that I was using before. It's right next to me, so here's the edge of that phone, and that's how that phone's mounted. That's a big old paper clip and some rubber bands, and it's screwed down to that stick. It used to be, it was one of the limbs on a clothes tree, and the clothes tree bottom leg broke, and I couldn't use it anymore. And I was going to fix it, but I haven't. It was already, you know, turned on a lathe and looked nice. So works out really good. It was just big enough. That's a mic clip on a mic stand, and I put those rubber bands on there to make it tighter, and that makes it hold and stay. And so the mic stand have been my tripods until the legs started breaking off of them. They have fold-up legs, and there's only 3 left. There used to be 5. So it will lean up against something like that. Otherwise, it won't stand up anymore. And there's a little bag that came with it, manual, and the HDMI cable and the lens cap. I went in and just took it off. And there's a little battery that I already had that I can actually plug into the camera to make it go a little longer, I believe. But I do have 2 batteries. Where's the other battery? Oh, I got to stop twisting anyway. I've got my I thought it was getting hard to turn. Yeah, because the cable's stretched as tight as I can stretch it. About to pull it out of out of the thing. Yeah, there's the battery. Just doesn't show up well. It's down there at the bottom of the screen. I can't tilt up anymore. Okay, now let's come back around. Whoa. I have that tripod where it works pretty good, but that didn't work too good. I worked on it. It was not. It was messed up and tight in the wrong places and loose in other places. I worked on it and got it working pretty good. Yeah, that white wall was probably, I don't know why a white wall would make it go whiter, but it seems to have. Now see, there's a little red in my face. I've moved and it's not turning. Well, I think that's as far as I'll go. Sorry, I cough so uncontrollably I can't even reach up to the keyboard. Oops. Yeah, the part that I fixed, the tilting up and down. I got white when I went down like that. I guess it depends on what's behind it. But let's go a little further. It's not twisting good. And I had it just right. It's a strong tripod. It's made out of metal, but it's crappy at panning and tilting. What's happening is I have the whole thing it's sitting on top of this. It's a light stand. It's sitting on it, and then the rubber band's around the leg and a clamp that's for a light actually. But what it's doing is the legs are turning on it instead of the head turning freely like it should, and it was. I had it all working. Maybe when you turn it, the screw's tightening up. I don't know. I could go on around more, but it's just going to be jerking and everything because it's turning the whole thing instead of just the head of the tripod. So I'm going to quit. Yeah, it wants to go that way just fine, but it doesn't want to go the other way any further around. Sometimes then it'll loosen up and it'll start working. Okay, so there we go. Well, that was a fun day, wasn't it? And that was a whole day. Oh yeah, there's one thing I keep forgetting to do. Okay, now let's see before I go. It could lock up the camera for all I know, because I know if I hit the, I think every time I hit OK, it locks up the camera. So I won't do that. But it may be anytime you hit any wrong button, it locks it up on this thing. Locks up the operating system on the camera. But it should be able to zoom in and out. It should be able to zoom in and out. I really did want to try that at least once. So let's see what. Yep. Okay. So that would be a really helpful thing. Like if I had it behind me aiming at my screen, and I can zoom in and out. Just don't, you know. Well, if it'll pan and tilt like it's, you know, I had it working good just last time I used it. If it'll maybe if I put a little lubricant on it again or something, maybe it'll help. But if it'll pan and tilt where I can just reach, if I keep it close enough where I can reach it, that's the way I was doing with the phones. It might have to be further back. I'm not sure. And then if I want to zoom in to just show the screen, or if I want to tilt down and show my stuff on my keyboard tray or something, I could do that with the other one, but that being a mic stand and everything, it did not pan and tilt smoothly. It jerked, and so I've avoided. And the zoom, I could zoom in and out remotely by going to the web browser and doing it, but it was real, slow and clunky. And rather than I'd just end up telling all about it just to explain why I'm doing all this stuff, But with that, I can just grab the remote, and I might say, "Oh, I'm gonna zoom in," and then I'll zoom out, or I might not. You don't necessarily have to say anything if it works smoothly and kind of seamlessly. So that was all the features that it has. Is why I went ahead and got it, even though I knew it wasn't going to be anything like a Canon or even a used, several years old Canon or Nikon or Sony or whatever. I like Canons and Nikons the best, I think. But anyway, that's I think that's enough for one day. And it is a little bit better, higher resolution, got a few features that my phone's using a phone. It is a lot clearer. Can I do that again? A lot clearer, sharper than my phone. The phone on the left, the new camera on the right. But it is, I can't see the preview when I look towards the camera, but it's, I don't like that too white. It's too white. And it might get better just by putting it, over here where this camera is. That's the other camera right there with phone. I would just think it, well, I can move them right quick while they're all set up. But, let me think. Put it on the desktop for a second and mute the audio again. All right, now let's try to do that before I go. I know I keep saying I'm going to go. Okay, so I can grab the phone. I think I will grab it. Okay. There's the phone on the selfie stick, and there's my camera on its it is on a tripod, that little tripod I was talking about. But the legs are folded down, and it's sitting on the top of that light. And the pan and tilt, I did work on it, get it working pretty well about a month ago now, I guess, and I haven't really used it much at all since. But since the legs on this mic stand, there's only 3 left. It's aluminum. These were from Radio Shack, made back in the 70s or 80s. But it's when after they started going cheap, you know, getting stuff from China. They were one of the first ones to get a lot of stuff from China, and it's part of the reason why people quit buying stuff from them. You know, why they went downhill. I went from making their own TRS-80s computers that still work. This is a 1983 computer that still works just like new. And I'm not going to take the cover off or anything, and I still haven't learned to use it. I didn't have it back then. Somebody gave it to me 5 or 6 years ago now. And I still haven't learned hardly anything about it. But I still want to. Anyway, that's where that mic clip is, where I had this clipped in. So I'm going to move that. Oops. Turn that camera over. I guess you could see that, couldn't you? Okay, so I had no plan for this. I just started doing it. Now, what I was going to do is pick this one up. Move it as far that way as I could. It's not much difference from where it already was. And then aim it. Yeah, see it goes so far, and then it turns itself back because it's springing those legs, those rubber bands. It's springing them, and this head is tight again. Right in here it gets tight. And then this, it'll be tight in one place and really loose in another. And that's pretty even pressure. And yeah, see, when I try to go, it goes a little so far and then kicks back because it's these legs, you know, twisting out of shape. They will spin on that, but I think I've got it down so low it may be touching this this thing down here, the tightening nut. But because used to have it up tall. But anyway, that was all I wanted to do there. And yeah, see, I can't. If I was really paying attention and trying real hard, I can do okay with the selfie stick in the phone. That could be it. But if you had if I just need to get me a real tripod. I mean, that little short one is a real tripod, but it's not good for. That light deal is not really stiff enough for something even that heavy. That's not very heavy, but it's not stiff enough. So yeah, there that is. And I've been using it like that for years. Got one that's set up like that. The other one is one was on the mic stand, and the other one was on that short tripod. And then that other tripod, for several years, I've had that endoscope mounted to it because it needed to be mounted really tight so that cable, when that cable twists, it turns the picture upside down or sideways. It still will do it, but I got lucky today, and it was pretty much right side up to put some paper under it, you know, and me be able to see it too. But yeah, the lighting, well, I mean, it looks better. There's now a shadow on my eyes. Probably, I don't know. It's just, my eyes can't really stand the bright light, but so I don't turn a light on and face it at me or anything. Then I couldn't even see the screen at all, you know. But you can see the reflections. I guess you didn't see that. Didn't notice that until I moved that around there. But if usually I have that little short tripod, I kind of the front two legs sitting on my monitor, and there's a box behind the monitor that the back leg was set on. And that was a good angle. It was a little high, but my glasses were always so reflective you couldn't see if I had eyes or not. But yeah, now that I moved it, it's doing that, reflecting again. You can see through pretty, but you can see something. I don't know what it is. It's reflecting off of them, but that's from the ceiling light right there. But yeah, it still looks quite a bit wider, but it's okay. I've probably, if I hadn't been so used to those cameras that were very vibrant in color, I can see, cheek colors, natural cheek colors and everything. But then the head's washed out on top. The wall is way too wide. And look, when I move my hand around, it starts changing its white balance and everything. It's not bad. I mean, it's not it's not good, but it's not bad either. I mean, it's doing it fairly quickly. I don't know. I haven't even tried holding too much up to it. It doesn't go nuts when you do that. But you can't hold something up that close and get a good view either, can you? It gets blurry. I didn't expect you to be able to, really, but that's not a macro lens. I was like, 4 to 6 inches from the lens, so that's not too bad considering that. But yeah, that does look better at that angle, the same angle than as the phone. The phone was a while ago. Than it did on around there. I knew it wasn't going to look good when I started it, but I just didn't. I thought that trap has bigger, wider angled legs. It has much wider angled legs, so I tend to kick it and turn it. When I try to, if I have to get out of the chair, I'll turn the whole thing over. So I didn't really want to. And that other one with the broken legs will actually scoot back up in there further. So I didn't want to. And this one is actually more wobbly because you can see it's very thin as compared to this mic stand. The stand part of it's very good. It's the legs it's the holder for the legs. It's a cast aluminum, and it was a poor grade. Casting wasn't done well. But see, now look at this one. This is one. This is the one my boom mic that my SM58's on. It's mounted. I've got it mounted upside down. It was broke already when I got it. And the base, I don't think I have the base for it. I think it used to have it could have had one of these. It could have been one of these bases and it fell apart, and I just, that's probably what it was. And so I decided I was looking for a way to mount my SM58 at my desk to do my videos. I'll show you. See, so I mounted it. I just put it upside down, and I put padding. I put that foam padding that you put on air conditioning line and stuff, and then I wrap some. I happen to have some. It's funny. It's pink camo duct tape. The base color is pink, and then it has some like grayish lines in it. If you saw it out flat, you could tell that it was a camo type design. When I bought it, I thought it was going to be more red. I ordered it. That's my excuse for having pink duct tape. But the heater quit a few minutes ago, and I'm beginning to settle down. That's what it was. It always does that. It hasn't been running that much today. Somebody got cold and turned it up, I think. It is cold outside. Well, it shows to be 43 in Fort Worth, and I'm in Hazel. Look at I got an outdoor thermometer. Let's see what it's showing to be. It's not much different, 41.2. Earlier the day, it was like almost 10 degrees cooler this morning. But it's supposed to be get below freezing and have, rain, maybe sleet and snow tonight and tomorrow morning. They might even have some on the roads in the morning. Looks like I'll be asleep now. I've been getting up at 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, and this morning I got up at 4:30, 5. But I got, about 4 o'clock I started doing this, and so I'm still doing it. That's the way I do things. I'm already full on or full off. Full on today, so I'm liable to be full off tomorrow. So we'll see. But I am glad that I finally got to. Now at least I was really worried because I've only got this is the 4th and 5th now, and 7th is my last day that I could send this back if I want to send it back to Amazon. And I wasn't really sure if I wanted to keep it with the audio. Well, you heard how bad it can be. I don't know why. Well, I think what it is if I'm holding the camera and I'm behind it, I'm close enough to be loud enough at a normal tone of voice for it to not cut it off. And I think that ALC, or compression, automatic level control, whatever they're calling it these days, usually it's some kind of automatic level control. They usually don't put compression that I've seen in cameras. Not maybe in some high end, well, not high end like professional cameras, but they call them prosumer, like the DSLR cameras and stuff like that. They might put compression in. No, I don't never seen the compression and noise gate in a camera like that. You usually have to run it through some equipment like I've got here, or or some software in your computer or something. But the only reason they wouldn't be able to do it too easily in a camera is because they're trying to make them small and lightweight and not use too much battery power. And they would have to have a lot more processing power to do all that. So you could do it easily if it wasn't for that. But everything's built to a price point, everything consumer-wise. And the price point of $110, that's actually, in camera world, that's pretty cheap. So maybe it's worth it. It looks like the only way I can do my live stream with it is over USB. I was really worried about my computer being able to keep up with that for very long at all. But I've been doing it. Well, look. Well, that's the way it's kind of been doing all day. It hasn't. Sometimes when I run that endoscope camera and stream and stuff for hours, the computer will just lock up. If I don't notice it, it's slowing down in time. But that's not how it runs normally. Around 24% of the CPU OBS that's OBS. I've got it organized so that the highest CPU users on top. That's why I keep that open, not only so I can see it, but so that if anything starts acting up, I can figure out what it is and kill it before it locks up the computer. But anyway, okay, so I'm gonna call it a night, and I'm figuring out. Well, I want to go ahead, even though I don't think I'll really be using it. I'll go back in. I think I've already looked up that app and saw that it wouldn't run on my phones, but I didn't ever get the 10-inch tablet out and see if it'd run on it. So, so that would be the next thing I want to check into. Maybe tomorrow I'll be able to do that. And I got a feeling that I won't even be able to hook it up to go through the router to my desktop. But if I could then it would be a wireless camera, just like my phones are. I can go all around the house. Sometimes I go out there in the garage or the driveway, even though I know it's probably going to work for at the most 30 minutes to an hour, and then it's going to start dropping frames so bad it'll ruin the video. But I still keep trying. I keep thinking, well, if I do this or that, or especially since I had got this new router, but of course I know how to fix it. I just haven't done it. I have my old router. It'll do like 800 or 950 on the Wi-Fi. Set it up. I have to put DWRT or probably that one, but some open source router firmware on it, software, and then turn it in. It won't be a wireless. It doesn't have software that'll make it a wireless repeater as it is, but it will. You can't put DWRT on it. I've made sure of that before I bought it. And then I can turn it into a wireless repeater. I used to do that with my old Linksys. And well, I've got another one. Oh, is that what's out there now? Something's out there right now that is a wireless repeater, but it's really, really slow because, well, they're really old, but I think being out there in the garage, and I think more than anything, it's the heat in the summer. It'll get, last several years, we'll have weeks of 103 to 110. Sometimes one year we had a week of 110, 112. And that is just, and actually, I was out there, and I kept telling myself, I'll go out there early and then go in before it gets really hot like that. But I would always end up staying out there till 3 in the afternoon and getting right into the heat of the day. And and the routers, I mean, they just, they'd almost burn your hand if you put your hand on it. The case, top of the case. So. And what would happen is it would freeze up. It would not freeze up, but lock up. Anyway, after a couple of years of it being out there, I don't leave it on unless I'm out there using it. But the routers seem to be more delicate. I've got PCs that's been out there for years, and they're beginning to act up now, but one's of 350 megahertz and one's of 500 megahertz. I just left them out there to, look stuff up when I was out there working on stuff. And I'd get the way I got internet out there. They're old desktop computers, and they're wired, but a Wi-Fi repeater you can plug into the Ethernet cables into them, and then they'll feed, internet to a desktop. But anyway, for the cameras, if I repeat the signal like that, then I could go out into the garage in the driveway. Should be able to do that with no problem with a faster router. Those old ones didn't really help because, the Linksys was 54 megabits. That just wasn't enough. But might have been when I first put it out there because it was actually doing 54 megabits. But at some point, I don't know when, it got down to, I didn't start testing it until it got really bad, and it was down to, 1 megabit to 3 at the max, 3.5. Yeah, I don't think the Linksys is out there. I think it got too bad. There's something else out there that does work, but not real well. But anyway. See how I want to do one last check on the sound, see if I've been talking to myself and nobody hearing me. Yeah, you've been hearing me. You've been hearing it all, the glorious coughing and hacking and smacking. All right, so I always do this when I get tired. Instead of just quitting, I just keep rambling. Okay, so I keep thinking, I need to straighten it all out in my head and tell it, but I think I've told everything through 15 times now. At least today I've been able to hit the button most of the time. I have it set up with shortcuts, but I didn't want to do a one-button shortcut, so I'd be turning my mic on and off and not even knowing it. So it's Control 4 for this one and Control 3 for the wireless. So I got to set those two set up. Sometimes I can't hit them when I'm coughing so hard and jerking around. So anyway, Okay, so there's a new camera. There's a day of going through it and seeing if I even could stand to use it. It's okay. It's not great. It's not even good. But there's not too many cameras that will do this either, you know. Well, I mean, I could just get, as far as just a USB camera, they've got some pretty good. They have actual 4K USB webcams, you know, that are not, well, they're about 100, 100 and maybe 100, somewhere between 100 and 150, I think. I don't think you might be able to get them for 75 now. I'm not sure, but I wasn't really shopping for them. I did see some when I was looking, but this one is also a regular camera that you can carry around and use on the battery and everything. It has so many more features. I don't know that those webcams would be, I mean, they don't have, I don't think, well, there might be one or two that have zoom. There are some, almost bought one, security cameras that have digital zoom. But, well, and of course there's the ones that are pan tilt zoom. That is really, that's what I decided I'd wanted. If I got one with that, I'd want to just go ahead and get the pan tilt zoom. But they are very rugged. I almost got one of those for a camera, you know, because they're so rugged and can stand the heat and the cold and everything. And if you're outside working on a project, my phones will lock up at 98 degrees outside. They'll just lock up. And but they, let's see, what are the ones I have? They're 5 megapixels. I've got 2 of them now. I didn't realize until after I got the first one that they actually only do 24 frames per second, and you can really see that. And so I wouldn't like it at all for making videos, but it's fine for you know, surveillance cameras. And you know, it helps cut down on the size of your videos. You can get more hours of video. But now I'm doing that again. So anyway, I've considered so many options. I studied so hard for months and months. Well, actually, I looked on and off for years. Couldn't buy anything. I was just looking, you know. But for the last, when I finally decided I'm really going to buy something, I spent 2 or 3 months looking, you know. I think maybe it was not quite that long, but I mean, seriously hard looking for a month and a half. I know that before I bought. I couldn't find, you know, something I wanted to spend $110 on. So, or I almost decided to go ahead and buy like a used, I said this up before, but a used camera, you know, a used Canon Nikon or whatever, like around, you know, $275, $300 range, but they didn't have most of them didn't have any Wi-Fi whatsoever. The Wi-Fi where you just download the pictures, that's of no real use to me. I mean, it's so slow, you might as well take the SD card out and put it in your computer and get it done, you know. And I know that because I've done it with all these phones for all these years, and I don't like taking. It's a lot of trouble to get them out of the. Well, to me, it's just a pain in the butt. Well, if every time I want to, looks like this thing might have locked up or something. Slow on memory. So yeah, see that's real fiddly getting that off on and off of there, getting it all right again. See, you have to take all that off of both of these phones if I want to you know, get the SD and take the cover off the back to get the SD card out. So put that down, it's distracting me. So that's why I used to do it a lot over Wi-Fi, but sometimes you get lucky and it only take 3 hours to copy whatever, you know, like 32 gigabytes, or well, I've got 64 gigabyte cards and those two. So say I had 50 gigabytes on there, so well, you couldn't do that much in 3 hours, but if it was 50 gigabytes, it would take 8-12 hours, you know. And I would just let it do it while I was, you know, during my day. But it's a real pain jacking around with that when you can do it in 30 minutes to an hour at the most, 20 minutes to an hour at the maximum. If you just take the SD card out, put it in the USB adapter like I was doing earlier in my other videos with the card out of this one. And and this is a lot, it's a lot easier to get it out. You just flip the door on the bottom and, it's all right. I got tired of doing it over and over. I did it 3 times within, like an hour. I didn't like that, but no big deal, really. Well, I've jacked around here long enough that I'm trying to see that, yeah, there's the time on there, 1 hour and 12 minutes for this video, and that's with the USB plugged in, and the computer's doing fine. Let's look at the resources again. Yeah, I don't know why it's up there like that. I think it may be the switch. Yeah, the switch from camera. It may be using 57% when I'm using the camera, and then when I go to desktop, it goes down to 25. I think that's what happens. Yeah, but I was on the USB camera, so it can do it so far. If it can do it that long, that's okay. Sometimes when like I said, when I'm running that endoscope for 2 or 3 hours, it will just lock up the computer all of a sudden when I didn't even realize it was getting behind. But the only thing about it is I'm sure I could get used to the color difference, even if I might be able to change it more to my liking if I look in there some more. I will look in there some more. But it's really going to be a huge difference between cameras if I use this and a phone. And that's going to look kind of funky. Well, so I don't know. We'll see. I have to decide tomorrow, actually. Let's see. It'll be today. I mean, this is the 5th now because it's 12:32 a.m. So when I get up, it'll still be the 5th. So I'll decide. Because 5th, 6th, 7th, 7th was the last day, and I wouldn't even try to do it on the last day. I'd probably never get it through. I've never done it. I've never tried to send anything back real late. I usually have a few weeks, to go. But there is some things that are, the audio can really just be horrible. And the number one thing, and probably what I would send it back for, is the locking up. If you hit, every single time I believe I've hit OK on this thing, it locks the software up on the software. The whole camera just the software locks up. And of course you can, if you just learn what not to do, you might be okay, but you never know. That could just get to where that could be a telltale sign of a much bigger problem too. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna go. And see you later.